Lisa, I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to see you.
It's great to see you too. I was a little nervous, like, I hope I'm doing this right, getting into the IG Live.
Perfection, perfection, and right on time. I'm so happy. So, thank you so much for joining us today. I think it's too late, a little bit too late to say Happy New Year, but I'm going to say it
Yeah.
anyway.
I think, yeah, like at least through the end of January, Happy New Year works perfectly. But I mean, hey, it's like what, February 3rd? So
I know,
I
I
think
know.
it's still fine.
January went by in a blink of an eye. I can't believe it's already February 3rd. It's
I know,
crazy.
but I'm honestly so grateful. I think January might be my least favorite month of the year. So I'm happy to be in February.
Well, I don't think that you're alone there, Jordan. I think many of us are glad that it's February.
Yes.
So, thanks again. I'm really excited to continue our conversation because I know that when we spoke on your LinkedIn Live, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we didn't want the conversation to end. So
Yeah.
today you're the star. So will you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about your career background and a little bit about you?
Yeah. So this is my first time being interviewed rather than being the interviewee. So it's or interviewer.
Yeah.
Yes, that. So it's a little bit different for me to be on this end. So I'm just a little bit nervous but excited. So I guess a little bit about myself. I currently work as a career coach and a community lead at Shift Group. And what we do at Shift Group is we help athletes and veterans make a successful transition out of uniform and into the professional world. So for many of our athletes and vets, it can be a really challenging time in their life when their career is ending in the military or in their athletic endeavors. And so we help bridge the gap between the companies you work with and the vets and the athletes and helping them find, the next chapter for them. So that's a little bit about what I currently do now. As a community lead, I'm really focused on our alumni initiatives. So helping to build a network with our candidates once they're placed in a role, either through Shift Group or just whether they use us for training and then they go off and find their own role after Shift Group. Really focused on just bringing them into the community and figuring out new ways that we can continue to support them once they're in that new role.
Yeah.
So,
And Jordan, how does your cohort, if you will, how do they find Shift Group?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of what we've been really good at up to this point is just word of mouth. A lot of our candidates have a great experience going through the Shift Group process, and then they tell their friends or their teammates that, hey, this program really helped me in the transition to my sales role or whatever the next chapter is. So like word of mouth has been really big for us, but we are really trying to be visible in front of universities and veteran transition organizations, helping them just know, hey, even if you don't need us right now or need us at all, like we're here in this space and we want to help your teammates, or we just want to be visible for those people before they're even thinking about that transition.
Got it. And now, where were you before?
Yeah, so I have a little. I guess I'll start from the beginning of my career background. But I hold the Shift Group mission near and dear to my heart because I was a Division I athlete in college. I played volleyball at Wichita State, and I myself really struggled with the transition out of athletics. I knew that I wasn't going to play professionally. I knew that my career would end. But I think transitioning out of sport was just really, really scary. So like all people who don't know what they're going to do, I guess I went to law school. I don't know if that's like a thing, but no, I went to law school and I found out very quickly in law school that it wasn't for me. And so I struggled with a lot of the unknown surrounding my career. While I was in law school, I started coaching volleyball at the elite club level and at the Division III level in Minnesota, and really fell in love with coaching. I just got such a sense of fulfillment from working with these young athletes and helping them grow and achieve their goals. And in a way, it was helping them transition to their next chapter of life as well, whether it was going on to play college for my high school kids or whether it was those Division III athletes that I coached, helping them excel in their athletic career, but then help them transition out when their career was over as well. So anyway, I was coaching there. And then I ended up, after graduating from law school, I ended up going into the tech space. So I got some experience in account management and sales. And ironically enough, I actually ended up being a candidate in the Shift Group process at one point. So that's how I found out about Shift Group. I was looking for a new sales role. And one of my friends from college, who I currently work with now at Shift Group, mentioned Shift Group on his Instagram story. And so I said, hey, I'm actually looking for a new sales role. I'd love to hear what this is about. So I got the candidate experience through Shift Group, was actually placed in a sales role through Shift, spent some time there, and then ended up back here as a coach. So was in sales before joining the team as a coach here at Shift Group.
Yeah, I love that. So, will you share with us what is the hardest part? And I'm curious to hear your perspective and also your client's perspective as they're letting go of being an athlete or being a veteran. Like, what's the toughest part for them?
That's a really great question. And I think my personal answer, probably overlaps with what I see day to day with candidates that I work with. I think the biggest challenge I see is the concept of starting over. I think starting over is very, very scary to a lot of us. It was really scary for me too. You focused for your whole life on being so good at one thing, right? Like when it was volleyball for me, and yes, like school was important to me, academics were important, but when your whole life and schedule revolves around your training and your classes, that's all you think about for, almost however long you've been playing it, 15 plus years. So starting over was really, really challenging for me. And it's something I see with my candidates too. They've had really, really successful athletic careers, military careers. They're at the top of their game, especially like my professional athletes. They come to Shift Group and they were the best of the best. And now they're looking at starting a new career and they feel like their skills don't translate. They've said, hey,
interesting.
Yeah, that's one piece I see is they think my skills don't translate as an athlete. I don't know how I'm going to, I've worked so hard at this one thing. How do I bring this into the professional world? And one thing that we at Shift Group, we started placing candidates in sales roles. That was really like our bread and butter because it really translated to the athletic experience, just commitment to the numbers, really competitive teamwork, high accountability, all those skills that I'm mentioning. I have to work with these athletes and say, hey, these skills do translate to the professional world. These are really, really important skills and really elite drivers for a lot of teams, especially when it comes to culture in the professional world. So we work to help them bridge the gap between their athletic and military skills and what teams are looking for in the workforce, and help them express that in a way where it's valuable and understood by the professional teams. So that's one thing I tend to see. And then the other thing, I think sometimes it can come from an ego place. I don't want to speak across the board for all the candidates I work with, but this concept of starting over can be really, really hard on the ego for a lot of candidates I work with, because they're looking at, I was this elite military service member. I was at the very top ranks of my organization. And now I'm going to start as a business development representative, like bottom of, the corporate hierarchy in terms of sales. And so we really kind of dig in there and we think about, is this really you just thinking like, and I'm not saying across organizations, like they can start an account executive role. They can start a little bit higher up the ladder. I don't want to blanket statement the whole industry. But sometimes the ego can get in the way of your own growth, is I guess what I'm trying to say. If you're not willing to maybe start at the bottom and get that foundation of knowledge, that's so important to the rest of your career, that we kind of work through some of those challenges too.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because as I'm listening to you, share this experience, I'm thinking about where we are today, right? And there's so many people that have either suffered a layoff, have been or experiencing a career change. And that's the first thing that they think is, oh my God, my skills aren't transferable. But listening to you speak, they are transferable. So how would you coach someone who's listening in, if they're going through some type of change right now? What would you say to them, based on, if they're a high level executive, or, they're not starting out, in this, this time for them?
That's a really good question. I think maybe for someone who's not starting out, I would say base level, it's really, really hard to like go through the layoff or to face that, hey, I'm starting over. So I think it starts with just acknowledging that and giving yourself time. I think about when I've had to start over in my career, or what feels like starting over. I mean, I've been laid off before, I've suffered setbacks, and it's really, really hard. So I think just acknowledging and giving yourself a beat to say, hey, this is really hard. And I've worked so hard for so long to get to the point that I was at. And it can feel really defeating to get that layoff or have to start over. So acknowledging that first, start to regather your confidence before going into this next stage. And then really, I think it's always good to reflect on all the things that you are really good at. Write them down, take a list of them, give yourself the pep talk you need. And then when it's time, when you feel ready, start to get back into that job search. Or when you're working with us at Shift Group, we start to look at, okay, where would you be a good fit? What companies would be a good match for you to start working with here? And then from there, it's taking, all those amazing skills that you're good at, and then learning how to translate them directly to the company and what they value. One thing I particularly see as a miss for brand new candidates is they have this amazing background story, whether, they're a high level athlete, but they have a hard time translating that story into why the company should care. So I say, yes, tell your background story, tell them that you received these awards as an athlete, that you won this championship as an athlete. However, why does that matter for them? Is it your ability to overcome and push through adversity, translating it to the skills that they need for that specific role? So that's kind of one thing I coach for new candidates as well.
Yeah, that's great. And if I may, I would love to share, or actually add to what you just said.
Please.
You're not alone, right? You're not alone. You're not the first person that's going to suffer a layoff or through a career change, right? And I think that's really, really important, because I think that sense of community and knowing that you're not alone, I think, is very valuable as well.
Totally. Yeah. I 100% agree. Yeah, you're not alone. And sometimes it can feel super isolating. So seeking community out too. It can feel like, I remember when I was laid off, until you realize that, hey, maybe I wasn't the only one laid off from my company. Right. It felt very isolating. Like I was embarrassed at first. And so I think knowing like, hey, I'm not the first one to go through this, and I'm not the only one maybe on my team that's going through this. So reaching out and seeking community for sure is so important.
Yeah, I love that. So tell us about your LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this. So the LinkedIn Live, which Elisa, everyone listening, she was a guest on. So I will post it on my Instagram story too after this. So you just call back to that episode, which is one of my favorites. But the LinkedIn Live show was really started as a way, it's a passion project of mine, but at Shift Group, we were really seeing a gap in men to women in sales roles. I think it's just across the entire industry. I think it's about 70% of all sales roles are held by men and 30% by women. So we saw this massive opportunity within sales to say, hey, there are a ton of amazing female sales leaders out there who maybe aren't getting the same face time as male leaders out there in the industry. And there's huge opportunity for women to be successful in this space. Let's start calling more attention to it. We were working with a lot of companies that were asking like, hey, where is all the female talent? Where are the female salespeople? And they're out there. They're so in demand. Like by the time we got them at Shift Group, they were being hired out of our network already because they're smart and talented and they're just in demand. So we wanted to just encourage more women to consider a career in sales. But since it started, it's grown beyond sales. So right now it really focuses on female leaders across a variety of industries, whether they were athletes or veterans or not, it doesn't matter. I think there's just a huge opportunity to call a lot of attention to women out there who are crushing it in their careers, making a difference in their industry. And I want to show other women that, hey, there's a ton of opportunity here for you to succeed. I think it's just important for us to see once you see someone else do it, achieve what you want to achieve, you're like, it's possible. I can do it now. I can do it too.
Yeah.
So that was kind of why it started.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I was very honored to be part of, your show. So thank you again for the opportunity. Now, where can people see your show?
Great question. So it's every Wednesday. I should have covered that. It's every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on LinkedIn. So I posted under the events on Shift Group's web page on LinkedIn. And then additionally, I put it on my Instagram live. So you'll be able to catch it on, if you connect with me on Instagram, it'll be on my IG live. And then we post it afterwards on our YouTube channel for Shift Group. I'm working right now currently on getting the episodes up to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So soon to come there, but right now LinkedIn Live and IG Live are where you can catch it live.
That's so exciting. That's so exciting. Okay. So, you're a former athlete, you've had, you've had a stint in sales. Now you're coaching, you're a community leader. So what would you say to your younger self, Jordan?
Oh man, that's a great question. What I would say to my younger self, and it's something that I've said to myself before, but it didn't really sink in maybe when I was younger. But truly the path is not linear. Be patient. You are where you are supposed to be in this moment. I truly believe that. When I was younger and really uncertain about what my future career would hold, I was very, very impatient. I wanted the success now. I wanted that dream job now. But I also don't think I was ready for it at that point. I think I needed to learn more about myself. I needed to go through more challenges so that I could be confident once I, quote unquote, arrived in the job I wanted. So I would tell myself, be patient. You are where you are supposed to be at this moment. Take the lessons as they come and continue to grow from them.
God, that is so good. That is so good.
Thank you. Thank you. It didn't feel good when I was younger, 10 years ago, so uncertain, but I can confidently look back now and say, yeah, you are where you were supposed to be at that point.
Yeah, so. Right. Yeah. I think that's part of just human nature, right, Jordan? We're just so impatient and we're rushing to get places. And it's like, no, you're going to get there when you're ready. Right.
Yeah. Yes. When you are supposed to be there, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what are 3 career insights that you would share with those tuning in today?
Yeah, I think I was thinking a lot about this question. I think the best career advice I ever have received actually came from when I was an athlete. So when I was playing volleyball in college, I was not getting the playing time I wanted at this moment. And I was working with a sports psychologist, and he had said to me, Jordan, you have to play your current role to the best of your ability before you can get the role you want. And it kind of has to go with what I was just saying, like being where you are at the moment and doing the very best you can in that role. So you get all the lessons you need from it. And not focusing on what you don't have. I think when we focus on what we don't have, we sabotage where we are now. Mm-hmm. So that was one piece of career advice that I still take with me every day in my career. The second is, I think, always pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. I've learned over time to seek discomfort, and in the moment it can really suck to be uncomfortable and to be nervous or a little bit, just outside of that comfort zone. But that's really where the magic happens. Take as many opportunities, say yes to as many opportunities as you can that are outside of your comfort zone, because that's where the learning happens. And then again, that path isn't linear. I think nobody has a all figured out. I think even people that say they have it all figured out, they don't. It's our first time living. So be patient with yourself. The path isn't linear. Just because, maybe you're not in your dream job now doesn't mean it's not teaching you the skills you need for that role down the line. So be patient with yourself and be in the moment and learn all that you need to. You never know where this opportunity will lead you next.
Yeah, all great stuff. Jordan, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can connect with me here on Instagram, Journey with Joder. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jordan Duren on LinkedIn. I sometimes post on TikTok. You can find me there as Joe Duren. But yeah, no, those are the two main places, probably LinkedIn and Instagram here.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible. I'm so inspired, and I hope that everyone tuning in is inspired as well. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Jordan, for your time and for sharing your sunshine today. We will be back here next week at the same time. So thanks again. Thanks for tuning in. And Jordan, you have a great afternoon. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay. This was amazing. I really appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.